Mr.
Ian,
Ferguson.
welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Good
It's
to
always,
have you.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Now, dragged you away from a bit of gun filming.
Yes, I heard you have a challenge.
Yeah, so I believe, well, 60 seconds is the plan. If you go over, it's not the end of the world. We need, each of us, so it's kind of setting me a challenge as well, we need a handgun, a long gun, and like a SMG size, carbine size gun.
Okay.
And the criteria are going to be, it's got to look funky.
Okay.
It's got to work in an unusual way.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be like core locking system or anything. It could be any mechanical aspect.
Okay.
It's got to have had very little impact on anything that followed.
This all sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, I can see your eyes lighting up already. And as a bonus kind of extra to that, we're not going to kind of track points per se, but if it gets adopted anyway, you get like morale points or something.
Okay.
There's no winning. This is just a fun exercise.
All right. 60 seconds.
Go. So what do we have here?
I found this. It appears to be a gun. It appears to be a gun with all the inside bits on the outside.
Like Superman. It's wearing its pants on the outside.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's a Charlton.
Yes. Yeah.
I figured this absolutely has to take it for looks strange and weird.
It definitely does. People tend to bandy the word steampunk around when this thing shows its face, if indeed it has a face.
Understandably, yeah.
Finned barrel,
yeah.
this piston gubbins on the side.
That's really the best part.
Ludicrously large pistol grip.
Yep. Terribly small bipod that doesn't fold. It just sits there.
It really is small, actually,
Yeah,
now that you mention
it's
it.
a fairly low bipod, which is the sort of thing that would be good on a flat range, but as soon as you've got the least amount of grass.
We do have extending legs, though.
That's true. Yeah, actually, you're right. I'd never.
They go from
extended
very
those.
small to huge.
Yeah, and it still doesn't fold.
I've never tried that before either. Just
And
noticed it now.
Pivots. A
Crazy
little
muzzle device as well.
bit. Yep. I like the fact that the barrel flutes are not actually on the barrel. They're just washers stacked over the barrel.
Good point. Yep.
You have to have a face shield so that you don't do a bunch of amateur dentistry when you fire the thing.
Now is this a left-hand thing as well?
It is, yes. Well, technically you could shoot it right-handed, but you'll want to be very aware of where all of these things are going.
Yep.
So the function is also, I think, pretty effective for our criteria.
So looks weird, works weird, is like a sort of a dead end before it's even conceived of, because we already have Bren guns.
But it was technically adopted. It was mass-produced. They made 1,500, and then they were all destroyed in a mysterious warehouse fire, which I saw a rumor written that that warehouse was also storing a whole bunch of other war material of dubious financial origin.
Oh, really?
And that perhaps someone actually burned that warehouse down to hide some various nefarious activities that had nothing to do with the Charlton, but virtually all the Charltons got incinerated in the process.
The more you look at it, the more weirdness you see sort of technically, and the more you hear about it, the more interesting it gets in that respect. I mean, it's square in your wheelhouse.
It is, yeah, it is so rare that something this stupid actually gets adopted.
Yeah.
Normally they make one of these, the testing commission laughs it out of the house, and you never hear about it again. And it goes into the racks in a place like this as the only known example to survive.
We should, for those who don't know, this is an attempt at a stopgap, isn't it?
Yes.
It has it's not some guy in a shed, well, kind of, but it's not some guy in a shed going, what can I do if I strap a gas piston to a bolt-action rifle? It's, the Brits won't give us Bren guns.
Right.
We've got to make do.
The Japanese are going to invade any day now, which was not totally out of the realm of possibility.
We have the New Zealand stamp there on the butt plate. So it ticks all the boxes. It literally ticks all the boxes in this case.
Yep.
Great choice. I've kind of failed because there's no way this thing was ever getting adopted, but I couldn't help myself.
No.
When we were set loose in the racks to just pick stuff, I remember this whole series of Sterling armament
Yeah.
Rifles, there's an LMG version of this that's even bigger and heavier, and I didn't feel like carrying it, so.
I feel like these are kind of equally dumb guns.
Yep.
But this one the most un-gun layperson ever will look at this and recognize that it is stupid.
Yep.
That, if you don't know what you're looking at, looks kind of sleek and elegant.
Even if you did know something, you might think it's, I don't know, maybe it's meant to go, it'd be a spotting rifle on some kind of artillery piece.
All you
Well, it's
need-
got to have some, it's been so nicely made. It
Yeah.
must have a serious
You need a scope on it and like a cheek pad here.
some sort of a,
Well, maybe.
yeah.
I guess.
This has, I should say, the LMG version of this, which has an attachment for what we think was for a bipod, also has some sort of attachment for a buttstock, which I imagine as being a gigantic version of the Sterling SMG buttstock, but we really don't know.
In the United States right now, this is legally a pistol.
Yes, it is. Well spotted. So this ticks the looks weird box because it looks like a gigantic Sterling submachine gun.
Came straight out of Star Wars. clearly.
Kind of. Oh, it would be such a good Star Wars gun. Works weird in the sense that both of them are lever delayed
Okay.
to handle the power of the 7.62 NATO cartridge.
Right.
But not unconventionally weird. Not this weird.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't tick the. Well, it ticks the irrelevance sort of side story box, but not the service box. There was no way this was ever going anywhere. Not commercially, not militarily, nothing.
No.
So, I think you win.
I think I
this
got
is
you on this
okay.
one.
That's so much better.
All right.
Okay, so let's take a look at the pistols.
Pistols? Got it. Oh, the Mars.
Snap. Well, not really, but kind of.
I also like rotating bolt pistols.
Which are uncommon in their own. Just on that point, of course.
Indeed, they are.
How many lugs do you have?
I have 4 lugs. You have 4
Yep.
lugs.
That's kind of weird. So what the hell's that?
So this is a Schwarzlose 1898, which I think is one of the few guns that was like actually really good and kind of in a way ahead of its time, and yet fell into complete obscurity.
Yeah.
So okay, so looks weird, doesn't really. This looks like a
For the time, I guess not.
even today. I think this looks relatively reasonably like a pistol. It's
Oh yeah, like in terms of draw me a handgun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it doesn't have the classic slide, all enveloping.
No, that's
barrel
true.
that most people would now say was
that's
a
true.
pistol.
So I've sacrificed that a bit because I think these are so cool.
There are definitely weirder looking pistols out there.
Yes. It is a, mechanically speaking, it's recoil operated rotating bolt, which is quite unusual for a pistol. And then what I find really interesting is this did actually see governmental service in very small numbers. These were purchased by Russia. I believe it was the Russian Gendarmerie bought a smallish batch of these,
Yeah.
which accounts for virtually all of the production.
Right.
So they're sort of a dead end, but in a way they're a dead end that people came back to later. Not so much with the bolt action, but it has the form factor of a modern pistol.
True.
Comparable to any other pistol that was made, like this thing's 2 years after the
I was
C96.
just going to say.
This predates everything Browning, and
Yeah.
yet it handles like Browning's European cousin
It
designed
does have the funky sight situation.
Yes, so you have a rotary rear sight here to raise the leaf, which is cool.
I mean, in principle, it's no weirder than the stupid 1,200 meter sight on the C96.
And it only-
it's more compact as well.
Yeah, and it only goes out to 5.
It's just the rotating drum that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Well, wheel, not really a drum.
Yeah. And then it's actually chambered for a cartridge that I could, well, not here, but I could at home go out and buy a box of this ammunition. It's in 7.63 Mauser.
I think you grasped this format better than me because I've done it again. Not only have I gone British again, I've gone never adopted and wacky cartridge. 45 Mars, which is a sort of a longish case.
Massively
45.
overpowered.
Yeah, I mean, there's the famous, I can't remember the wording, but there was the account from it. Did see trials, well, kind of, There are trials and there are trials, aren't there? There are serious trials. We're probably going to adopt this, and there are, let's go and have a pop off at the range.
Bloody hell, I've got to see that thing shoot, that kind of trial.
Which is kind of, I think test and evaluation is the term that is used later for, let's just make sure there's nothing really good out there that we're missing. And I suspect sometimes it was morbid curiosity as well.
Oh, totally.
I
Absolutely.
mean, think of the time though, you know, talking 1890s again, and you know, in terms of design, they're not quite sure what an automatic pistol should be yet.
Right.
They're used to giant revolvers, so
That's true.
maybe a giant self-loading pistol is the way forward. But a load of skepticism at the same time.
I may have points for this being actually service used, but you get a ton of points for the looks and for the weird operation, because that is one of like 2 pistols ever to have a backwards feeding magazine.
Yep.
And it's long recoil.
Let's just show that.
This
So we
is-
both
this
went
is-
recoil rotating bolt, but
Yeah,
this
but
is
this
long.
is half-assed short recoil, and that's proper long recoil, and it pulls cartridges backwards. See, all I've got is this boring ordinary magazine that feeds out the front like, a boring gun.
Clearly the way to go. So Hugh Gabbett Fairfax
Yes.
was not onto a winner with this. I mean, I can't help making the very spurious, is it specious, comparison with the Desert Eagle.
Yeah.
Being an overpowered cartridge and with these twin guide rod spring housings, and especially if you fit that stupid 10-inch barrel to a Desert Eagle.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Edwardian Desert Eagle. And you have that vague reference from the trial where no one who fired it wished to fire it again, or words to that effect. And I'd love to know how much that is the sort of one-handed bent elbow technique of the day, and clonk, and how much of it is this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the sheer amount of leverage this thing is going to exert is
Massive.
significant.
Yeah, especially with a long recoil
Yeah.
system.
I mean, I don't think we're looking at hammer bite or anything, but still.
No, yeah. I'm not aware of anyone after those trials shooting one of these.
Yeah.
There's no footage, and I'm not aware of anyone who actually took one out of a collection somewhere and went to shoot it for kicks, because all the cartridges are totally proprietary. There's
Sadly,
like
yes.
4 different cartridges those were made in.
I think we have 1 live round preserved for the
Yeah.
future, and that's it. So that's not getting shot.
But I think you won this one. Didn't get used, but it's a heck of a lot weirder in every other way.
Okay, I'll take it. Although I like to think there's a parallel timeline where officers are pulling these out of shoulder holsters or something.
I think that would be a fantastic timeline. All right, shall we do some mid-sized guns?
Yes.
All right.
let's. Please explain yourself.
All right, so
I'm being trolled here.
I mean, possibly a little bit, but I think it's legitimate. So,
I fear you may be right.
I mean, one of our core requirements here is guns that had no significant influence on the development or use of firearms.
I don't know. There's a what not to do aspect, surely.
HK would like to thank you for adopting this, because it made them a lot of money. See, I
I'd
know
just like to distance myself from the whole thing.
I know this is an authentic issued one because the stock's broken. Which tells me that someone perhaps applied Army issue bug repellent to it.
I honestly think so. This is post-adoption experiment. No, sorry, just pre-adoption experimental. So it's right on the cusp of adoption.
So it's
the one you've
actually-
chosen.
Actually better than the standard issue ones.
I wouldn't go that far.
The SA80 is like the Dorian Gray of firearms projects, in that the farther you get from the initial prototypes, the worse it gets. Normally, the development process improves the gun. The process, I know this is very stressful and disheartening, but hear me out. The development process begins with the XL60s, and they are the best functioning, most reliable of the process. The 70s are
I
slightly
don't
worse.
know that we know that. They never saw any serious use.
No, but the
And
ones...
the trials results from those were not amazing. They were better than the yeah.
What was the parts breakage rate on the 60s compared to like this level of just prior to
If only there was a
adoption?
book where we could look that up.
There is indeed.
No, it's not. There are. It's like lesser of two evils, or whatever. Like there are points where it's better. There are points where it's worse.
Usually, it's a pretty clear progression that the farther you get down the
Yeah.
development track, the better the gun gets.
I mean, as I always say, it's the only firearm that I know of where the whole thing was redesigned halfway through. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Why do that?
And then redesigned again after it entered service. Is there a single part on the A3 that has not been redesigned and rebuilt from this stage?
Well, technically, the trigger mechanism housing, so the lower receiver design. Well, no, sorry, no, that has been tweaked because they had to put a stop on the selector, on the change lever, or a better stop, because it was over rotating and going full auto when it shouldn't. But apart from that, the design of the lower receiver has not changed. Literally everything else has changed, including the interior of the lower receiver. Like, I'd be very surprised if there are any out there, because they're very old now as well, without all of the trigger mechanism.
Yeah.
Well, we know they were replaced for A2, put it that way,
Right.
because they had to be.
Yeah.
All the Germans did was remanufacture every component to the correct spec and hardness and all of that.
All they did was
Open out the ejection port, give it a new cocking handle, but it was very minimal. Like it does at least prove that the basic design was more sound than you might have given it credit for. That they were able to fix it with such basic.
I will acknowledge that they were able to turn it into a perfectly adequate rifle.
Perfectly adequate is what we strive for on this island. So, now there is something you've missed there.
Uh-oh. So
The one you happen to have chosen there is not only pre-adoption, but there's something different about it.
see, now I'm being put on the spot
Yeah.
as punishment for insulting the entire nation that is
only-
currently hosting me.
It's only fair.
So are you talking about the carry handle?
Nope.
Oh.
Something more fundamental than that. What's one of the major issues with SA80 in particular, but bullpups more generally?
Oh, bloody hell. This is the left-handed one. I didn't even think about it because I am left-handed. This is the one that you could actually shoot left-handed without rearranging all of your teeth.
Yeah. But you can only shoot it left-handed.
Correct. Yes. And they just decided not to make that.
Yeah.
So we considered accommodating the 10 to 15% of our population that's left-handed. Then we decided, screw it.
Yep.
Screw them. They can learn how to shoot right-handed.
Yep. So at one point they were going to do a certain percentage, I think they were going to go with 10, that were built left-handed as rifles, and they were looking at a conversion kit where you'd keep the lower receiver and replace the whole upper, and they went, too difficult.
That would definitely be too difficult.
Now, I'm always looking for kind of to-be fairs for this weapon, but of course the Bren gun, the Lee Enfield rifle, they were all right-handed only.
They can be fired left-handed.
They can, but they were not drilled to be. Now, I can well imagine Brens would have been fired off shoulder because they were used more than people might think for close quarter jungle combat, that kind of thing.
I've actually tinkered with shooting Brens left-handed, and you have to roll your head a little bit over to get to the offset sights, but it's really not a problem.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be honest, it's a lot more comfortable to do than trying to shoot a French Châtellerault left-handed. They have the sights way lower and farther over, and it's not really feasible.
Now, it does fall down on unusual mechanism, because as we all know, it's just an AR-18 in a party dress. Actually, party dresses are supposed to look nice.
It's an AR-18 with a significant hangover until the Germans get a hold of it.
It's an AR-18 in a bin bag.
Yes, yes, very much. That is about the strength.
Refuse sack, for those of you outside the UK.
That is about the rigidity of the metal housing, too.
And not unconnected to the fact that almost everything has now been replaced. The upper receiver has now been made more rigid. The furniture has been improved, and the only bit left that is still perhaps a bit questionable is that lower receiver. The one bit left, because it is quite thin and bendy.
Yeah.
Now that's not really a problem in use at all, for obvious reasons. But if you were you wouldn't start from here if I were you, as the saying goes.
No. Certainly had no appreciable impact on firearms design, except as a warning lesson. How not
But it
to do
is
a
fine.
It
We
is
should
now
point out
perfectly adequate.
all of the servicemen and women that use it need not worry, and need not have worried for maybe 20 years now. But there was a period of time there where it was pretty dicey.
Yeah.
And it's by no means the best thing since sliced bread.
All right, so what did you think? I see you did not choose something that's an insult to my entire.
I could have done.
National.
I did consider a FAMAS retroactively when I saw that you had that, but that would be petty. No, I've gone for something. So I have not done the deep research on these. They do show up in the Guns of Dagenham book,
Right.
on the whole Patchett Sterling story, because this guy was effectively the rival, but it was a bit too late.
You definitely won on our actual official criteria here for this choice, because that is strange looking and strange working.
Yeah.
sure.
So the buttstock is not particularly weird, although it does have this cool cantilever
It's at least slightly weird, yes.
track system, which is not as complex as the Patchett, but still a bit weird. Obviously, the rest of it's pretty conventional. You might have spotted that it has something funky going on with the mag,
Yes.
almost a bit French with
Yes,
the
indeed.
folding magwell, but it's on the side because Britain,
Of course.
and before that Germany. And it's kind of weird in that, and this is not adopted, by the way. This is purely a prototype. There's a whole series of them. BSA, Birmingham Small Arms Company, came up with them. Sorry, the weak point I'm talking about. So let's say we like accidentally hit a small sapling.
Oh, is that
That's
only
gonna
held in by
happen.
friction?
Not quite only friction, but it's just a spring clip that can
Yeah.
be overcome.
So
There's no latch.
There's no fixed latch.
We might have fixed that later. I need to.
Now, you need to
look
show
into
people
these.
how to cock that,
Yes.
because that's the other really cool part of it.
So in terms of our exercise here, the weird mechanisms. Well, submachine guns are never usually very weird. There are some, of course.
Yeah, but
This is weird, not in terms of how it functions. It's blowback, but you have to twist, pull back, and twist again, or it will actually spring back itself, and that's cocked. At which point, there's no easy way to decock it. You just have to let it go. See, even though I pulled the handle forward, let's do that one more time. So yeah, you pretty much have to eat springs just by pulling the trigger. So it's pump cocking,
yeah, which is very cool.
but forward and then back, which is kind of weird if you're used
Yeah.
to pump action shotguns or rifles. It has a very similar automatic repetition safe selector like the Patchett.
Yep.
The Patchett had already got into like experimental service by 1944, so this thing was already not onto a winner.
Yeah. Same magazine?
It
Or
is
just
not.
similar looking. Yeah, similar looking.
It is similar, but it lacks the sort of built-up.
Yeah.
I don't believe this has been designed to be compatible with the Sten mag.
Okay. Doesn't look
Which
like
is-
it with a curved magwell.
Yeah, so that's probably the point of departure there. The bonus factor of was it ever adopted? Well, no, we already know that. However, I can kind of massage this insofar as if you go over to our, so I have to pinch these to close it. If you go over to our pop culture gallery, you'll see two Star Wars blasters. One of them is the classic Stormtrooper blaster, which is the Sterling. Bapty, who did the guns for the original movie, took elements of this for the Rebel blaster. So this shape of forend.
Yeah.
So originally it was used as a pistol. They did away with this, and they had it more like a pistol, but they all shoot it two-handed. And then by Empire Strikes Back, it's reverted to this kind of arrangement with the cut-off mag, but it's just a Sterling with this grafted onto the front. And it's made out of shiny metal, not this synthetic
Bakelite or
type material, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Bapty guys were serious gun people.
Yep.
Like they were not just in the movie business, but they also had a significant gun collection for like 3 generations.
Yep.
So I can totally see them taking an unusual prototype that most people would never have even heard about
Yep.
and being like, we're going to take that element and put it here because it looks right.
That's the interesting part, though. I guess they didn't have enough to just take these for the Rebels and the Sterlings for the Stormtroopers. So they just took the design element and they came up with initially just like a rubber cast, and then they went with like a bodged variant of the Sterling.
Okay.
So it never got adopted, but kind of the Galactic Empire was inspired by it.
Well, I think you got enough points otherwise on that one to win out there.
And it definitely looks weird.
It's very cool. Very cool.
works weird, and is cool, as you say.
Whereas this looks a bit weird.
Here we go again.
And it malfunctions weird. I tried to cut you some slack by going with the iron sights that aren't total crap instead of the optic, which has nearly as many problems to bring up as the gun does.
So if you develop Stockholm Syndrome for the SA80, like I did writing the book, you come up with all sorts of justifications. Like, yeah, okay, the SUSAT mount was not good.
True.
But the SUSAT itself, at the time it was introduced, 4-power combat optic with a good field of view. There wasn't much else out there at that time.
That's
Not many
true.
forces had, and the optic
true.
was the thing that really, the optic and the 5.56 cartridge are what elevated, what allowed the MOD to save face, effectively.
Yes, that's true. However, if I had the choice between a SUSAT and the regular fixed optic on an AUG, I would take the AUG optic.
And in 1985, probably even more so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tried.
You made a valiant effort, and your countrymen should appreciate you for it.
So there we go. There are our semi-random picks from this extensive collection. So thank you for taking part in that nonsense for us.
My pleasure. That was fun.
Always appreciate it, and it was fun as well.
I appreciate your good humor.
We try. So what should people be looking out for in the future from Forgotten Weapons, or publishing as well?
Many interesting things. Of course, I'm here at the Royal Armouries for an extended period, filming all sorts of cool stuff that will be showing up on Forgotten Weapons. Of course, that's YouTube, it's Patreon, and what I'm most excited about is our app, History of Weapons and War, where we have 8 different firearms channels, one of them being the British Royal Armouries. So if you want to watch Jonathan and myself all in one convenient location that supports me, supports the Armouries, you can do that at History of Weapons and War.
One of us for each eye.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe. No.
What about you? You have anything particularly cool coming up?
Wrapping up a couple of publications, but really the main thing is, as you've seen, and as you cover as well, we overlap somewhat with weird guns.
Definitely.
That's our main series on our YouTube, our most prolific series on our YouTube channel. What's This Weapon? Where you can also go and play along on Facebook or Instagram and guess what it is before it shows up. So
Absolutely.
it's like added value, really. You don't have to do that.
All right, Jonathan, thank you for everything. It's been a great time already, and there's so much yet to do. I'm going to go film some more of your guns.
Please do. As many as you can squeeze in.